Well, hello, everybody. It's Seth again. I am doing the intro at the Christian Man Unscripted. I am Seth Lazan. I'm here with Alan Underwood and John Harney, the distinguished men, former police officers, sergeants, captains. No, they weren't captains. You guys never got that cool. No. But they have beards, and that's really cool. And I don't.
If nothing else, we have beards.
Yeah, exactly. And so, we had a fun conversation last week. And the week before, we talked to Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, and he had this really interesting concept that I'd never heard of, but you guys have because you guys are cool police officers. But talk about dogs, sheepdog as protector. But I wanted to kind of talk about dogs a little bit here because you guys have dogs.
So do you. How's your dog thing go? Let's go back. Last year, almost this time, you were talking about how you would never get a dog for the family.
Yes.
Let's fast forward to today. What's going on with your dog?
First, you got the dog that wasn't the dog you thought it was going to get.
Got ripped off.
They dyed it to make it look like
exactly.
I mean, that's the funniest thing.
Yeah. You got it off of Craigslist, right?
Yeah, we got it on Craigslist.
Yeah, is that even a thing now, Craigslist?
It's apparently it's still. I mean, I don't know if people who are actual.
I use OfferUp sometimes.
Yeah, we use Craigslist, but yeah, it was my wife was insistent. I'm not going to say begged, but basically
told you you're getting a dog.
Was like, can we get a dog? Let's get a dog. And I was like, finally, I was like, all right, you find a dog. And she was like, all right. So she did all the research, all the stuff. She even researched how do I not get scammed she researched how to not get scammed by a dog.
That was a scam website. The clickbait on that actually walked her into the scam.
Exactly.
Probably.
But they messaged us, and it was she was like, oh great, it's a Maltese. Brit's always wanted a Maltese. When she was young, she was 17 or 18 or something.
Wow. Go ahead.
Yeah, she wanted a Maltese, and she was convinced her parents were going to buy her a Maltese for Christmas. And she was, I don't know why she was convinced, but she was. And then Christmas Day came, and she opened up a big present, and it was a stuffed Maltese dog. And she was so mad. But she's always wanted a Maltese.
I don't know. Is that nice, or is that kind of just cruel?
That's cruel. She was so...
Did they do it to be cruel, to be funny?
They did it to be... They thought it was hilarious.
Okay, so I think it's kind of hilarious as well.
Yeah. And then...
I would do that.
And then about 2 or 3 months before we got our dog, my kids and I bought a robot dog. And... that
didn't work. That didn't satisfy.
We were like, Brett, we got a dog. And she was like, really? And then Elisha pulls out the dog from behind his back and says, here. And she is so mad, too. She's like, everyone who loves me does this to me.
PTSD big time, dude.
You know what's funny about the dog thing? Like with the animal, like the stuffed animal, most parents would be like, oh, okay, here's the real one. But they never did that.
They never did that. They're like,
just go play with that.
Just go play, She was like 17. It's like, oh, what the heck?
And then he did the same thing to her with the robot dog.
If she was 7, it'd be even funnier.
Yeah. I know she was.
Nothing like messing up a kid.
Yeah, right. So that's it. So then I think my prank on her kind of was like, all right, we're getting a dog. And she just had to, push me, and I was like, all right, go ahead. And
so you got her the Maltese.
Got her the Maltese. We went to the thing. She was,
because everybody knows Craigslist is going to be the most reputable place to get a purebred. Yeah,
for sure. We didn't think it was going to be like.
I hire all my contractors off of that as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But so they said it was 10 month old Maltese, long hair, was white, but some of it had been was dyed a little bit, and we saw it was dyed, and we're like, hey, why is it this color? And she's like, oh, we dyed it as an Easter egg, because it was right after after. But this person who sold us, she had pink hair, so we're like, I mean, it's weird, but okay. But then we get the dog home and get it to the groomer and. All the things that they said were not true.
Oh my God!
It's not a white dog. They dyed all the dark. It's not white.
You're gonna have to send me a picture, and I'll put it on this YouTube.
Yeah, we need a picture of the dog.
Yeah. I'll
send me both. Do you have one when you got it home with dyed?
I don't know if I.
If you do,
there's got to be with the happy family holding the Maltese. That would later they would later learn it's some kind of a mutt.
Yeah, it's a Shih Tzu.
But I mean, why would you advertise a Maltese when it's a Shih Tzu? Just advertise Shih Tzu.
Yeah.
People want Shih Tzus. I had a Shih Tzu. It was the worst dog I ever had, though.
Yeah, right. I mean, we have a great dog. Our dog is great. The kids love it. She doesn't bark. She doesn't have accidents. She never did, and so is. That's perfect. But she's skittish. She doesn't like
Well,
people.
she's been kidnapped several times
Kidnapped and
before she made
died.
it to your
Yeah,
house.
I don't
Except
know.
for
I don't know
ransom.
what. Yeah,
She probably
So-
was stolen out of the backyard.
That's
Probably.
we actually did. We looked at like Facebook, like missing dogs, lost
Yeah,
dogs.
oh,
We
so
we
you
looked
really
at all
thought
of
that
them
too.
to see. We were thinking the same thing. So
Okay.
yeah, we're like, God dang, we just gave
Yeah.
money to some criminals.
Yeah.
Dog
Yeah, but you
stealing,
saved the
dog
dog's life.
snatchers. Yeah, the dog is great, and the dog's a little skittish, but she loves us, and she does everything.
A lot of people are going to probably
Yeah.
comment that you should have just went to the pound and found the dog and rescued him.
We went to the pound,
Yeah.
but
A lot of
my
pit bulls and
wife
chihuahuas
didn't want that. Yeah, she
Wanted
wanted
a
a Maltese.
specific
She
dog,
wanted,
yeah.
she's always wanted a Maltese. So,
Yeah. I've never rescued. I have rescued a dog. That's what I'm saying. I've never kept a dog that I rescued because we got a Labrador once.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we first got married. I'm like, oh, this dog is great. He was the mellowest dog in the pound. I'm like, okay, this is the one I want.
Yeah.
So we brought the dog home. It was not mellow. That dog ran all over the house, knocked over everything, broke everything. I put him out in the backyard, skyrocketed over my wall, and just ran down the road. I was like, what in the world is going on? So I got the dog, I ran down the road, caught him, brought him back home. Wasn't paying attention, chewed up the rug, ate all my malted, we had a candy jar, ate all the chocolate. So you know how that went. A couple hours later, and I was like, okay, I'm sorry, brother. Sorry, dog. I got to take you back.
Yeah.
And I felt bad, but I was not equipped to handle something like that. And people will get mad at me, but I always get my dog from breeders now because we're allergic to dogs in our house. My daughter definitely is, and I am too. So we get the ones that hypoallergenic, but
You're part of the pretentious Labradoodle Club.
we have a Labradoodle and a Bernedoodle.
The hyper pretentious, can't stand you people Doodle Club.
And
I'm done with them.
Yeah, that's me. And I love them. They're great. My Bernedoodles. So here's the deal. I got this Bernedoodle. He's a year and a half now. 115. He was 120. He lost some weight.
Dude, he's huge. Your dog is so big.
So his harness broke. I have a harness for him. It broke, and I was at the park, and I had to come home, and so I went and I ordered one on Amazon. I'm like, large. It says from 95 to 105. He's like 110 now. I was like, oh, it'll probably be all right. Too small. I'm like, all right. Order another one, extra large. Still too small.
Oh my gosh.
My wife's like, just measure his chest. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna get a triple XL and it'll fit. So I went to PetSmart, got the largest one, brought it home, still too tight.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So I took that back and I asked the lady, I'm like, I need a quadruple extra large. He's not a large dog as far as height, but he's wide. His chest is massive, and I had to custom order one on some harness website. So I can't walk him with a collar because he loses his mind when he sees other dogs. Not as in anger, just in I want to go play.
Yeah.
I'm
no dog expert, but
he's dumb.
It's my understanding. You got to train these dogs using like one of those German chokers, which are like bigger links, so they don't hurt their neck. It's more about the noise. Yeah. But when you put a harness on a dog, look, we're going off on kind of a weird tangent here, real quick. But it's my understanding when you do that though, you actually encourage them to pull.
Well, the harness now has the one on the bottom, the hook on the bottom, where they don't pull because as soon as they start to pull, it kind of
it feels awkward to them or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's
Well, that
the
makes
one
sense.
we get.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So our newest dog is a rescue.
So you guys got two little dogs, right?
We only have one.
Well, you got one and you got one.
Oh yeah, Seth has one and I've got one. Yeah, and this is the first time I've had a little dog. We had like big Akitas before.
Yeah.
We had a terrible. By the way, if you're a regular listener, you probably feel like I've heard this before because we talked about Seth getting ripped off about almost a
still
year
pretty
ago.
funny. Yeah.
But it's still super funny, super relevant.
And we're talking about sheepdogs.
Yeah.
And
my dog actually looks like a sheepdog.
And we went off on this tangent because of the sheepdog. I had a sheepdog as a kid, by the way. And it's a terrible story, though. So he had a little bit of damage, right, where he like crapped all over the house one day after church, coming home when we were a kid. And my dad had a lot going on in his life at the time, a lot of pressure, a lot of things, whatever. And he opened the gate and
kicked him to the curb.
Basically kicked the dog till he left, right? And
That's sad.
I'm not trying to be mean if I'm not saying my dad's like, it was just at the time in our lives, you got to look back onto your own parents and say, you don't think of your parents as being a human being in the human condition in a fallen world and having issues. And there were issues in our home and in his job and et cetera. He was a cop also. That were probably much bigger than just the dog. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, sheepdog stuff. A couple weeks ago, the colonel was talking about how he literally has that term. Is it trademarked?
Trademark, copyright.
And so you have to ask his permission.
Federal trademark,
to talk about, the sheepdog as a protector of society. Colonel, please give us grace and permission on this one.
Yes.
He's awesome. He probably would. But his sentiment on that really is amazing on so many fronts. The fact that it's, sometimes society kind of looks at the protectors of society with a little bit of apprehension because they have teeth, because they They sort of resemble, his children's book is phenomenal on that. They sort of resemble the wolf, but the difference is the wolf will hide behind its prey for protection, where the sheepdog will put the child or the person behind them to protect them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But all that's really fascinating and awesome. But Seth, you shared that even on Thursday, one of these Thursday evenings a little bit back, that you actually shared with the kids that sentiment of that I love, that our God knows that we are of the dust, that we are of a frame that he created, that we are so much less than our God. And when the Colonel talked about it, about how he just wants to be God's dog, is a really neat thought, because our dogs are so goofy, but we love them anyway, and they hardly understand what we say, but they sort of do. And that's how different we are from our God. He's so much bigger than us. The thought of that, to me, blows me away, how the Colonel really clarified that. Like, people think, oh, I'm a dog. They go the negative connotation, oh, you're a dog, dirty dog, whatever. But no, we're talking about like I just love the Lord and I want to follow him, but I do still mess up, but yet he still loves me just like our dumb dogs do. I love that thought.
But I also like the thought of the dog being the protector. Like, my dog is dumb, the big one. Well, they're both kind of dumb, actually. My dog, he ran into a street sign one day. I told you that? I'm walking, he's got his head down, and there's a street sign that says, like, yield, not yield, like construction ed, but it's in the road, and we're walking on the sidewalk, so the corner's on the sidewalk. And I'm like, bong. I'm like, what the?
So stupid, dude.
Dog? And but he would protect the family. I know that he would protect the family. And I feel like, I mean, like I said, we did this podcast for men, for Christian men. They need to be leaders in their home. They need to be spiritual leaders and protectors, right?
Yeah.
Look, I'm not the biggest. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the most tactical, but I will die for my family.
Sure.
And I think men have gotten away from that. I think men they're submissive to their wives. They're submissive to the world, to media, to everything. We talk about it in politics. I mean, and you have to stand up for what you think is right. Stand up for your family. Stand up for your kids. I know for a fact that my wife and my daughter feel protected when they're with me. Right. I know for a fact. I went downtown with my daughter. We were down there we went to the courthouse for something I had to work related. And I saw her, like, there's a lot of strange people down there, especially by the courthouse. Right. And I saw her walk. She was like next to me, and then all of a sudden she was right next to me. And I was like, you all right? And I could tell she was like, oh, Dad, I've never seen this. So I'm, like I said, there's people much bigger, much stronger, much more tactical, but that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to protect my family.
Oh, for your family,
lead my
of course.
Family.
Yeah, of course.
And I might do it wrong sometimes. And I think that's what I want men to understand for this podcast, that we are the sheepdog. Yeah. We are going to protect and shepherd our family.
And as a sheepdog,
that's why I put Seth on here, because he's the opposite. So go ahead and tell us that. No, I'm just joking.
Okay. Yeah, let me say something opposite.
No, I'm just joking. So,
but no, on that same note, you are a sheepdog for your family. I wanted to say that
the whole time it was in my head. I'm like, talk about Seth not being one.
Yeah. Oh man, no.
Just because I don't own a gun doesn't mean I can't run away from a person and leave my family behind.
No, he pushes them. He pushes them in front of him.
I absolutely do not think that.
No, not at all. He's But tell me a little bit. Okay, as a sheepdog, as a protector, but then also in spiritual warfare, using the same dog analogy. You are a sheepdog for your family and for the people around you, but at the same time, in spiritual warfare, can you be led astray? Kind of share what you shared with the kids a little bit, because now you say, okay, I've got a purpose as a sheepdog, but is it possible that I could be led astray and hear from the wrong voice? Yeah.
Well, that's what I shared. I think even Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman mentioned this too, is that sometimes we can hear other voices and be led towards those voices, especially if we're not sure on our identity. If we're not sure that we are God's, that He is ours, then we can be led astray. But what I shared with the children at the school, and what Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman shared with us, is that we can look at those deceptions, and we can say, I hear you, but I'm not going to listen to you because I'm not your dog. Yeah. And that's a very fun analogy, is that we can hear that I'm not your dog. I don't have to listen to you.
My dogs won't listen to you guys.
Yeah.
Right. Barely listen to me. But yeah, no, it's a good analogy.
It's a great analogy, and that's what I was like, man, that's good. So I showed it with my kids, and I was like, you have dogs? Yeah, and they're like, yeah, we have dogs, and I was like, do they listen to you? He's like, yeah, like. Do they listen to everybody else? No, they don't. And I was like, okay, well that's a good analogy. Yep. And so I got to share that with them, and that was really cool because we can say that, for us, oftentimes, even in this political climate, we can get caught in the fear. We can get caught in these different things, and we can start to believe that if someone doesn't win, then we're not safe anymore. Mm-hmm. But the Bible talks about us as Christians. We're going to be experiencing persecution. We're going to experience negativity. Why should we not expect suffering? But we don't experience the wrath. We experience the welcoming love of God because we are His dog. But if we give into the fear, into the news cycle or the social media, and we think about those lies, what we're saying to God is, I don't believe that I'm your dog.
Yeah,
I think I'm someone else's dog, or I'm my own dog, and that's really harmful for us as individuals, but also our families, as if we're not leading them well.
Yeah,
it can be very harmful for them too.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I'm telling you, I keep on keying in on it because it really is. To me, it's a kind of a really neat foundational thought to have, because we think of our dogs. I love, because he even shared, like, my dogs, I got 3 of them, they're goofy. Our dogs are goofy, dude. My dog, Buster, is the goofiest dog I ever met in my life. Just a goofball.
He has his own Instagram page, right?
He does, yeah. Hashtag whatever, Buster Mac. But what's funny is that, we still love them because we recognize their nature, that they aren't as intelligent as we are. As intelligent as your dog might be, it's still a dog, right?
Yeah.
And then it sounds condescending to say, like, I want to be God's dog, because we sometimes do that whole, like, especially there are cultures where it's like, if you call someone a dog, that's really bad. Yeah. But if you think of it as...
Or could be good.
Well, but I'm just telling you, Middle Eastern cultures, like, things like this, whatever, or a Hispanic culture, or even in America, like, you're a dirty dog kind of.
But out here, you can also be called a dog. That guy's a dog.
Yeah, no, that's also like, yeah, I get it. Yeah. But the point is, we are so different from God. He's so much beyond us, and then more obviously with intelligence and all these things, that we're almost, you could say, like, we're like a dog. And it's like Psalm 103:14, where our God loves us, and when we're like the goofy dog that messes up, because our goofy dogs mess up. It says it like
that in Psalms?
And Psalm 103:14 says, you're a goofy dog, but God still loves you.
Gotcha.
That's the John Harney paraphrase of Psalm 103:14.
Okay,
gotcha.
You're this goofy dog who accidentally pees on the carpet and chews stuff up every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I still love you. God still loves you. He remembers that you're just a goofy dog. That's Psalm 103:14. You're welcome.
Okay, I'm looking for that. Like, it doesn't say it like that. You are a dog, man. You're a dog.
Right. So stupid.
Wait, you're a good one. You're both
good
dogs.
Yeah, because there are good dogs and there are bad dogs. And
I've had some bad dogs.
That's the truth. You know what? And I think that
we had
speaks to the difference.
It was a bad dog.
Yeah, but I think that speaks to the difference between a warrior and a fighter. Someone is a warrior, and someone who just wants to fight, they're not doing it with with the mindset of protection or the intent behind it. Mm-hmm. And so I think for us, as Christians, we have to understand that we are warriors. We are protectors. We are the ones that are to be that covering for our family, that they can feel as your daughter and your wife feel safe around you. Our kids and everybody that we're around should feel safe because they know that we are praying, that we are studying Scripture, and we're doing the best we can to follow the Word of God. And I think that's a warrior, as opposed to someone who just wants to fight and pick a fight with people and just just be angry, come in the house and like Alan used to, and just yell about things and just fight. But we're not.
Fight,
you used to, like, you mean like last week, probably?
Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah.
I am wearing a brown shirt.
Yeah.
I tried to not be a fan. I just can't help it. They're terrible.
Well, they should have a really good draft.
They should.
Choice here this next year.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, I like it.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that you're.
No,
but the way that we respond and react, we can be a warrior, spiritual warrior, or we can be just fighting random things that have no meaning.
You say that, and because I was impacted when we had the colonel here, when he talked about how we're Christian warrior, spiritual warfare is deployed in a war zone until we get to go home. And we've talked about that a few times over the last couple weeks since he's been here. But it's funny, we're talking about men. I get it, we're Christian Man Unscripted, but we have a wider audience, a broader audience, if you will. And so that is true of every single person who has believed in Jesus,
Right.
Is that you are going to be in spiritual warfare. And the best attitude to have is one of being a loyal dog. I'm just sticking to that theme, right? To being that loyal, goofy dog, but like you know who your master is. If you know your master is Jesus, then we're following him. We're following the Word of God. We're do the best you can, people, men out there, women out there, if there's any kids, kind of thing, to get to know who Christ is, to be around a body of believers, people. That's what church is for. That's what if your family is committed to Christ. The more you have that, then the more as you do get out there into the combat zone, into the war zones as a spiritual warrior, the more equipped you'll be, because you kind of know, like you know who your real shepherd is, you know who your real family is, your pack, if you will.
Yeah.
Keeping to this dog thing. But I mean, it's true, because then you just know, like, hey, I belong to a greater kingdom than this. You know, and I love this country, and America's great, and we have served in community and for the nation and all these things, and we love it, right? But
I love it.
ultimately, we represent the ultimate kingdom, which is Christ's kingdom. Whatever direction all that stuff just went, and all these things, going back, we had a political episode last week, But the reality is our Lord is who is sovereign. Jesus is sovereign and on the throne, and we're sojourners. We're just deployed. Eventually, we get to go home, you know.
Yeah.
But we're called to represent this kingdom, and right now we're just goofy, dumb dogs cruising around, but we could still behave.
Some dumber than others.
We can still behave and follow the great shepherd and follow our master and love each other, you know. So
I agree.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I've been doing a study through Revelation with my church, and one of the main themes is that God is sovereign. You know, every you know, it speaks to the idolatry of humanity, of, you know, the churches that were you know, pinching incense or offering to different you know, saints of the city, or not saints, gods of the city, and thinking it was not harmful. But in reality, those things are harmful. You know, when we have anything that we are willing to set aside our relationship with God, then that is a harmful thing for us to do, or we don't keep it in our minds. And if it's not our number one thing, those things can be very harmful. And for us, one of the things that Americans specifically struggle with is the God of comfort. And so we always want to be comfortable. We don't want to be challenged. We don't want to be, you know, to be subject to suffering or any type of persecution. And the point of Revelation is that we are sealed. We are secure in Christ. Doesn't matter who's on the throne. It could be the worst governor, the worst president, but it could be the worst leader in the world, but who's really on the throne above all thrones? It is God. And that's what we should remember, is that it doesn't matter if there's a bad president, doesn't matter if there's a bad governor or a bad leader or whatever it is, we are not their dog. We are God's dog.
I like it,
dude. Let me ask you guys this. Now I'm going to stick to the dog theme for a second, except for more to share a story.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me what kind of dog I would be.
Well, that's a good question. What kind
of
dog
hot dog would you eat yourself?
I like German Shepherds. German Shepherds
delicious.
are my favorite dogs. I would say German Shepherd.
German Shepherds. Yeah, they're pretty good dogs. Okay.
I'd be a Chihuahua.
Teacup poodle. What would you be? Wait, let me think. John would be, I think he would be like a French bulldog.
Man, that ain't cool because they're little and chubby, dude. Man.
Okay.
That's not very nice
schnauzer.
of you, bro.
You kind of even look like a schnauzer.
Man.
You're a weeder dog.
People always say I look like my dumb dog Buster. They're like, you guys are twins. I'm like, oh my God. He's the ugliest dog like ever.
He's got the overbite.
He's like cute but ugly with his underbite. Yeah. I'm like, so it's like he's so ugly he's cute. That ain't cool. So I was sharing a story a few weeks back. We had some people over for dinner, and I was I don't know how it came about. We got to talking about different breeds of dogs and stuff like that. And as a cop, you know, my favorite area of command to work was the West Side of Las Vegas. The historic West Side of Las Vegas was the traditionally African-American or black community of Las Vegas. And I really, really did enjoy it for a variety of reasons. For one, I just really loved and had a heart for a lot of the people who had been in that community for many, many years, decades, right? And they'd seen a lot of change, and I used to go sit and have coffee with some of those old school people who actually had influence in the old school Vegas black community and went through segregation and all this stuff. There's some neat history there in the historic West Side. Okay. So I don't want to diminish that by bringing up like what I found also hilarious and funny, because the flip side is you have these guys that victimize people and terrible criminals that this small percentage here, you have this community that feels unsafe because of crack and drugs and street drugs. Of course, that's a predominant theme throughout those neighborhoods. But the other thing that happened all the time is, like when I was in undercover narcotics and stuff, you'd end up serving search warrants on crack houses and stuff. And I am not kidding. This is legit. And I was sharing this story with this family. Oh, I know why. Because they saw a pack of wild dogs in like California, in L.A. They were like, we saw like a pack of literally wild dogs. We're like pumping gas across the street. There's all these mixed dogs and stuff. And I said, you know that we have that here. When you work the historic West Side of Las Vegas, now it's been many years since I have, so maybe this has been cleaned up by the dog catchers, right? Yeah. But you would be out front of a house. You know, we used to wear masks and stuff because now we're doing overt police activity or whatever. Or even when I worked patrol, I saw this several times. You would all of a sudden see these little kids go running by, and no kidding. And I'm making light of it because it really was funny, and it's just part of their life. I know people are going to hear this and be like, "Wait, go save the kids! What are you doing?" Because behind them there would be a pack of dogs chasing them, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dogs. This was a common thing on the West Side. Any guys listening to this that have been cops? I don't know. Did you ever work the West Side regularly?
No.
So it's, for some reason, you see it in that community, and it's a mix of pit bulls and chihuahuas. For whatever reason, in certain socioeconomic settings, and I love both of those breeds, in certain socioeconomic settings, lower class, something like lower income, you, for some reason, see pit bulls and chihuahuas. Those are the two dogs.
Those are the dogs that are in the pound.
And exactly, those are the dogs in the pound, and they're also just loose on the street. Maybe they didn't get to sell it or something. Yeah. And there are literally packs of wild dogs, but my point is, I shared this with a couple the other day after they mentioned they saw a pack of wild dogs and they were in California. And I said, Las Vegas really has that. And I hate to make light of it because it was so funny. You would actually laugh. It would make you laugh out loud because you would see little kids. And because I think the kids kind of, it was part of their fun, provoked them. But you'd see these little kids go running by, and then all of a sudden you'd see a pack of pit bulls and chihuahuas, which made you die laughing because those two breeds, pit bulls and chihuahuas. And they would go running by, and these kids would jump a fence or whatever. And so here you have these wild group of dogs just running around the streets. And it was like the funniest dang thing, dude.
Yeah. I was in Mexico, and I saw some wild dogs. Yeah. And I witnessed an indecent act. There's dogs just right in the middle of the road. Just
didn't care who was watching.
Just getting ready to have more puppies.
Doing it. And I was like, what the heck is going on?
Stupid dogs, dude.
It's really strange.
They're like, what are you looking at?
Yeah. I was like, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll leave, But
but there's something about that. You end up, it's just kind of funny. And you see these dogs are in packs.
Yeah.
And doesn't humanity do that, by the way? Let me draw that back to kind of a spiritual thing. Yep. Don't we do that? We can, these pit bulls, these chihuahuas, that kind of runs a spectrum of goofy dogs to what's supposed to be really tough dogs.
Yeah.
And they kind of follow a leader and they do bad things. We sort of have a tendency to do that as people too, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, to stray, they're stray dogs.
Yeah.
To run and stray and do dumb things on the street, to include horrible pornographic things. And then our God, you guys, let me remind you, those that are doing horrible pornographic things, like the dumb dogs in the Mexican streets that Seth had to witness and he's still traumatized by.
It was. I was trying to eat
our God is in our presence always.
Yep. Trying my elote.
Elote, dude.
Yeah, I was trying to eat that, and I was like, what the heck? It threw up. Yeah.
Let's wrap it up on that note, guys.
Him eating corn while he watches dogs.
Yeah, but I think that's a great. No, that's a great point. I'm not gonna listen to Alan. We're not wrapping up with that. That's a great point, though. Is that we are. Some of us are. We have not been acting as God's dogs. We haven't been. We've been
behaving.
We haven't been behaving as God's dogs. We've been behaving as someone else's dogs.
Stray dogs.
Stray dogs who have listened to the principalities of darkness, and that's
deep.
And that's what we have done as dogs, and now we have the opportunity. If you're listening to this and you're like, I have listened to the principalities of darkness, I've done dark things, you can renounce that and say, I want to be God's dog. And you can believe that in your heart, and then the heart is the center of who you are, so it starts to work out in the things that you do. And so if you want to talk to us about how you can be God's dog, or you want to talk to your pastor, we encourage you to do that. Just tell someone that you want to be God's dog.
Yeah. Sit, stay, listen, focus on God. And don't forget Psalm 103:14.
Yeah.
Give yourself grace. Give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
It's a process. It is a growing process once you've given your life to Christ. Give yourself some grace, because Psalm 103:14, God remembers that we're just like goofy dogs. That's what that says. Look it up.
That we're just dust. Yeah.
You're all goofy dogs. All right, we're out on that one.
Yeah.
Bye.
Normally you go, be blessed. You didn't say it this time. You're like, be blessed.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, man. Be blessed. See, you should have jumped in on that one.
Well,